Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm going to be going over some new deck lists from Pokemon Card 1 or Scarlet Violet 151. I always say the set name wrong. And pretty much these are new decks that play at least some new cards. This isn't necessarily like a full meta view, and also I was not able to find any Chin Pao lists with the new Mew EX, which I think, in my opinion, might be the best deck in format, because it's like super versatile and super strong, but anyways, we're going to look at these lists here, and a lot of them supposedly Mew EX. I'll talk about Mew EX specifically now. I should do that at least. So it's a, let's see, can you see that? Yeah, so it's a basic EX. It gives up two prizes and only has 180 HP, which isn't good, but it's better than, like, say, Squawkabilly, so it's whatever. But then obviously it has a lot of other good stuff going for it. So it has Free Retreat, which is very good. Free Retreat in general can make Pokemon see play that wouldn't otherwise, and that's going to help this card, but it doesn't make or break this card. Next up, you have Restart. Restart's an insane ability that says once on your turn, you may draw till you have three cards in hand. Um, I mean, it's not always insane in most decks, but it can be pretty good in certain scenarios when you have decks that get to small hand sizes. And it generally draw over, like, say, five cards maybe over the course of the game with this ability, which isn't too bad. Some decks lean into it more than others, but it's a nice ability to have, and it adds to the value of this card. It's not the best part about this card, though. The best card is probably Genome Hacking. This attack here, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, use it as this attack. Notably, this allows you to copy Giratina V-Stars or V-Star power, and just one-shot their V-Star, which is very good. The other good thing about this card is it allows you to, I guess, copy Radiant Greninja. That can be useful, but it's not like super broken. It's okay. It's nice, but copying Giratina is super good. And there are other attackers that are nice to copy. Um, I think the best one's Giratina. Sometimes Charizard can be good as well, but not all the time. But let's take a look at this Lugia list here. This is Colorless Lugia, one of the decks that probably has helped the most by the new set. As you see, it's running two Mew EX. Normal colors Lugia stuff, you get Lugia to put Archeops into play to accelerate a bunch of special energy. You can attack with Snorlax saying 180 for 3, Weird which when it swings in, it moves all the energy, or as much energy as it wants to itself. And then it hits 40 for each energy, which is pretty solid. I mean, you can one-shot anything with it. So you got Weird Snorlax, pretty solid duo there. Now you have Mew EX, which is another solid attacker, depending on, of course, the matchup. Although I suppose Snorlax and Weird also depend on the matchup. And then this is the classic 4 Burnett list. I honestly don't know why they play 4 Burnett, but it's funny. Um, it can be helpful as well. It gets rid of like Archeops. And then pretty normal Lugia stuff outside of that. I don't play too much Lugia. Um, I feel like it's a bit hard to find path bumps if you get pathed early on. Even like later on, paths can be annoying, but overall, pretty solid list. And Rinse Draper as well, obviously, from you can help you in Gardevoir as well. Next up, we got a single strike Lugia list. And this plays a 1/1 Umbreon as the dart, well, instead of like Yveltal, I guess, or Urshifu, and it runs Stonjourner as well. Umbreon is decent against Mew EX, could be part of the reason. And this list, of course, runs a Mew EX as well, because it has lots of colorless energy still. Or lots of non-single strike energy, I should say. The Mew EX's attack being colorless is really nice and gives it a lot of versatility. I personally would rather see like 4 urns, but whatever. And then we also see, I mean, not too much crazy going on here. Pretty normal Lugia stuff, but we must play a deck now with Mew EX because it gives specifically the colorless build, because the colorless build often did not have very much versatility. Now in Mew EX it has much more. Next up, we got Gardevoir, and Gardevoir EX can accelerate to Mew EX. Again, this is a pretty normal Gardevoir list. Outside of that, it plays these three separate stadiums, Templicino, Art Zone, Collapse, which I don't know if that's super normal. I know they like play these stadiums, but I don't know the normal split. I'm not a Guardy player, but yeah, I think when I play it, I played it a little differently, but this is still fine. And yeah, pretty normal stuff. Still play the Radiant Greninja and Manaphy, of course, making you vulnerable to control. But yeah, overall pretty normal stuff. But with Mew EX now you got this extra attacker. I think Mew EX is least important in Guardy. Its free retreat isn't particularly useful because you can just retreat your Pokemon most of the time anyways. Your attack is good, but a lot of the time you're copying like a big damage attack, and you can hit essentially as much damage as you want anyways. Of course, Mew EX is only 3 energy versus other attackers like Guardy or Zacian, which are much more. And then the ability to draw is essentially useless as well because you're generally going to be having pretty big hand sizes with this list, but it's still a nice Pokemon. I think it's actually being overplayed. I don't know if you should always play Engardy, but it's certainly a pretty solid inclusion. I would never play more than one Engardy though, but it's a decent card. Next up, we got Miraidon. Flaffy. Sometimes this list runs Mew EX. I've heard talks of it, but it's a bit more awkward because you cannot Electric Generator to Mew. You can Flaffy to it though, but most lists don't run like a 3/3 Flaffy, which is kind of what you want to use to get off the ground, or like a Raihan. But instead, they play this new Zapdos EX, a really interesting card. First of all, if it has any lightning attached, no retreat. Is that good? That's decent. But let's see. Yeah, this list runs Beach Court or Path. So if Beach Court's in play, you'd send like Miraidon up for free retreat. And if Path's in play, then Zapdos also doesn't have free retreat anymore. So it's like a decent supportability, but then its attack here is very solid, although a bit awkward to use in a lot of situations. There's 120 to the active for 3 lightning, which isn't obviously very good, but then you do 90 to 20 points of bench that has any damage counters on it. I've seen lists run Hawlucha to put the damage counters on, but generally it's something you hit into. If you hit into them for 220, say like a UV Max or like a Gardevoir EX, and then you can like gust something else up or rope as well to the bench, and then you KO the Guardy or the Mew on the bench with multi-shot lightning, and then you hit something in the active, possibly grab a KO there as well. So it allows you to have a little more versatility. It's not a super broken card in the list, but overall it's a pretty solid one in my opinion. It's a nice little addition. Not game breaking by any means, and I don't think Brian on Flaffy's like super good. I think it's a solid deck in the current meta, but I don't think it's the best deck. It's similar to how it was previously though. Next up, we got a new deck here in Abra, or no, not in Alakazam EX. I've seen a number of different builds. I featured on my channel. Check that video out. Although it tends to have some issues with setting up if you want to do more complex loops. So, yeah, maybe this is the best way to play it. Yeah, you got Alakazam EX here. First attack, Mind Jack, not a bad attack. I'm assuming they don't run double turbo, no, but it says this attack does 30 more feature points of bench Pokemon, so it does 90 plus 30 more, which means it goes anywhere from 90 to 240, which is pretty good. 240 for 2 on a stage 2 is certainly not bad at all. Dimensional Hand then does 120, so you want to be hitting more than that, which a lot of the time you will be, but then Mind Jack here obviously is a normal attack, but Dimensional Hand's really interesting. It can be used from the bench. So you have lots of ways of like things to stick in the active. You have Klefki, which turns off basic abilities, and then you have Mimikyu, which walls V's and EXs. You can also attack with Mimikyu. It hits essentially 70. Its damage counters, which is kind of cool. But then, yeah, and also in Spiritomb, I don't know the actual use of Spiritomb here instead of Klefki. I suppose it helps against Mew VMAX, but you have 3 Path as well. And it helps against a few other things. Maybe there's something specific that I'm forgetting, but overall, I don't know the exact use of Spiritomb here because you have Path and Klefki, but that's right. And then, yeah, pretty normal stuff here. Actually, very low supporter count, which seems kind of sketchy. 2 Judge, 2 Boss, 2 Miriam, and and 2 Miriam, and it plays a Palpad, which is not a lot, but it runs the Curly engine as well, which I think is the most common way to play it. Then these are the most common walls. You could run other walls, but Klefki and Mimikyu are very solid walls. I like Mimikyu V, but it's a bit more clunky. The low supporter count surprises me here, though. You could run Diancie as well. Diancie doesn't do too much unless you're trying to do something fancy. Diancie stops them from gusting up basics on your bench. They can still gust up Alakazam, but you can heal it. But then it gets a little bit clunky here. Also, it's the first Kadabra we've seen in a long time. It hits 30 and switches to the bench. It's not a very good card. That's the first one we've seen in like. Is it the only Kadabra in the limit? Yeah, it's the only Kadabra in the Limitless database, which dates back to it might just be Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I don't remember. But yeah, next up we got a Lost Zone box. Honestly, this is just some random Lost Zone box I found that runs it runs in MUEX. It's most Lost Zone lists don't, but this one does, so I figured I'd show it off. MUEX is the star of the show today, and Lost Zone's still solid. This is a Kyogre, Raikou, Dragonite. Not my preferred build, but I know some people really like this build with one Art Zone, one Beach Court, and one Pokestop, and two Lost Vacuum. Just kind of interesting and kind of strange, but I think MUEX is okay in the deck as well. Obviously, it's a versatile attacker, but you also have versatile attackers in the deck anyways. Um, so like Radiant Greninja, Dragonite, Raikou, and Kyogre, which are all very solid attackers. And that's fine. Nothing too crazy going on here. Obviously a lot of different things, but it's normal Lost Zone stuff. Only one Roxanne, no bosses. I don't know how I feel about that, but obviously you do have snipe options with Radiant Greninja, Sableye, and Kyogre. Um, yeah, I think it's a pretty solid deck. I mean, I didn't say good deck, but yeah, pretty normal stuff. Some of the card counts are a little bit weird, but yeah, pretty normal Lost Zone stuff. But now we get to the spicy deck. This is the one that I think it took people by surprise. I don't know why it's seeing play now exactly, but there's one new card. First of all, it's Oinclone EX. Those of you who don't know what it does, it's first attack, maddening. Well, first of all, 2/6 HP, stage 1 EX is colorless as well, which is important. Yeah, that's very important to this list. And then it does maddening scent, which does 10 and 30 more for each opponent's bench Pokemon. It's kind of like Alakazam EX's Mind Jack, I think, and this does less. It does 80 less, so it maxes out at 160, which is not too good, but base damage of 10. But it's certainly okay. And then if you're tanking it, it's okay. Heavy Stomp for colorless. On this 210, and on a coin flip, you can't attack next turn, which isn't a huge deal because, well, actually, it doesn't run too much switch, but run some. But then we also see the new Cleffa here as well for your treat colorless attack. Like for your attack, draw until you have 7 cards in hand. Only 30 HP. It's an interesting card. I've been seeing some people talk about it. I'm interested in it, and so it's a pivot and stuff. But then the new card here is going to be Rigid Band. The stage 1 Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less from damage after weakness and resistance. So that's pretty good. 30 less damage is just something nice to take. And then you also have V-Guard Energy. And then you also have a lot of disruption. You have 4 Crushing Hammer, 4 Path, Sharon's Karen, Cheryl to heal. You have 4 Judge. It's Barrel Scovid Engine, Double Turbos, and Gift Energy. So yeah, pretty solid stuff overall here. This is actually normal Oinclone stuff, but then hammers are a bit interesting. I don't know if Oinclone played that in the past. And yeah, so it's like a tanky path judge deck, and I think it's a very solid deck right now, but it's underexplored. I think it was explored a bunch when it came out, but then in what was it, Paldea Evolved? There was Scarlet Violet base set. I need to learn the sets, but I've forgotten. But then yeah, I think it like people stopped playing it once it came out, like a few months later a few months after it came out. So now it's getting explored again. So that's pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to probably playing this deck at some point. Next up, we got Control. I had to show this is just a regular Snorlax Control. There's some other better Control lists, but they're harder to play. And so this is just normal Snorlax Control, where you have Snorlax trap stuff in the active. But then the new card that people are talking a lot about, which I think is okay. I don't think it's as good as people are saying it is, but it's not bad either. Erica's Invitation. Your opponent reveals the hand and puts you put a basic Pokemon you find there onto their bench. And if they did, then you switch that into the active. So it's like a Manaphy plus boss, so this list doesn't run Manaphy, the Manaphy that drags Pokemon from their, or up to two Pokemon from the hand into play. That card was always kind of weird and inconsistent, and you had to do other things. Erica's Invitation is also a little bit inconsistent. You don't know if you're going to hit something before you do it. I don't believe there's a one card, an item card that looks into their hand, but it removes the Pokemon, so that's not super useful, but all in all, I think this is pretty solid. It's not anything particularly new, and I don't think Snorlax Control is like the best way to play Control, and I don't think it's the most interesting deck, but it's still solid. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to think, or what your thoughts are on the meta. Sorry, I'm a little tired right now. But yeah, I think the meta is pretty interesting. It's shaken up a little bit from 151. It's only a mini set as well. Um, yeah, and I think one thing to note, I haven't seen any VMAX list running that new like item card, the Grabber or something. It's some like disruption card that was seeing a lot of play in Japan, and I don't think most people thought it was very good. It could be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I don't think the card's very good. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, what decks you want me to cover as well. Obviously, there aren't too many brand new decks. One deck I want to look at was if people are playing Charizard with like the new Charizard in Charizard decks. Oh, people aren't playing very much Charizard. Also, today I learned that the Charizard Lost Zone box had its own slot in Limitless, and it's different than the Radiant. I mean, I knew it was different than the Radiant Charizard box, but um, Lost Zone box. But let's see, can we find someone who's playing it? Charizard Arceus. That's not running the new Charizard. Oh, someone played straight Charizard here though. And they did not run the new Charizard EX. Okay, because there's a new Charizard EX that people are saying would be pretty good, and I think it probably would be. Here we go. Yeah, this list runs the new Charizard EX. New Charizard EX hits. It does run Magna Recent. So the two things it does. First attack 160 for 1 if you have damage cards on you. So you need to accelerate with Magna Recent most likely. And your second attack here, 330 for 4. And then discard 3 energy from this Pokemon. Obviously, you power it up with Charizard most likely, which evolves and accelerates so much energy. They actually have the same HP as well, but it's like a big early Pokemon that allows you to grab this big one shot, which I think is a pretty solid addition. I honestly forgot about this card, but what do you think are cool new cards people should try out? Because I think there are a bunch, but I just hope you enjoyed the video. As always, subscribe if you did, like the video, share it, all that good stuff. And I'm excited to see you next time.